Hello, Mark. My name is Ben, and my student number is SO441043. The title of the speech is Mellody Hobson, Colorblind or Colorbrave. I'm a freshman in NCUE. So it's 2006. My friend Harold Ford calls me. He's running for U.S. Senate in Tennessee, and he says, Mellody, I desperately need some national press. Do you have any ideas? So I had an idea. I called a friend who was in New York at one of the most successful media companies in the world, and she said, why not we host an editorial board lunch for Harold? You come with him. Harold and I arrived in New York. We are in our best suits. We look like shiny new pennies. And we get to the receptionist and we say, we are here for the lunch. She motions for us to follow her. We walk through a series of corridors, and all of, all of a sudden we find ourselves in a stock room. At which point she looks at us and she says, where are your uniforms? Just as this happens, my friend rushes in. The blood drains from her face. There are literally no words, right? And I look at her, and I say, now, don't you think we need more than one black person in the U.S. Senate? Now, Harold and I applause. We still laugh about that story, and in many ways, the moment caught me off guard. But deep down inside, I actually wasn't surprised, and I wasn't surprised because of something my mother taught me about 30 years before. You see, my mother was ruthlessly realistic. I remember one day coming home from the birthday party where I was the only black kid invited, and instead of asking me the normal motherly questions like, did you have fun? Or how was the cake? My mother looked at me and she said, how did they treat you? I was 7. I did not understand. I mean, why would anyone treat me differently? But she knew. And she looked me right in the eye and she said, they will not always treat you well. Now, race is one of those topics in America that makes people extraordinarily uncomfortable. You bring it up at a dinner party or in a workplace environment. It is literally the conversational equivalent of touching the third rail. There is shock, followed by the long silence, and even coming here today, I told some friends and colleagues that I plan to talk about race, and they warned me, they told me, don't do it. That led be huge risks in me talking about this topic. Now people might think I'm a militant black woman and I would ruin my career. And I have to tell you, I actually for a moment was a bit afraid. Then I realized the first step to solving any problem is to not hide from it. And the first step to any form of action is awareness. So I decided to actually talk about race. And I decided that if I can hear and share with you some of my experiences, that maybe we could all be a little less anxious and a little more bold in our conversations about race. Now I know there are people out there who will say that the election of Barack Obama meant that it was the end of racial discrimination for all eternity, right? But I work in the investment business, and we have a saying, the numbers do not lie. And here, there are significant, quantifi- quantifiable racial disparities that cannot be ignored. In household wealth, household income, job opportunities, healthcare, one example from corporate America, even though white men make up just 30% of the US population, they hold 70% of all corporate board seats. Of the Fortune 250, there are only 7 CEOs that are minorities, and of the thousands of publicly traded companies today, thousands, only 2 are chaired by black women. And you are looking at one of them, the same one who, not too long ago, was nearly mistaken for kitchen help. So that is a fact. Now I have this thought experiment that I play with myself when I say, imagine if I walked you into a room and it was of a major corporation like ExxonMobil, and every single person around the boardroom were black. You would think that were weird. But if I walked you into a Fortune 500 company and everyone around the table is a white male, when will it be that we think that's weird too? And I know how we got here. Applause. I know how we got here. You know, there were there was institutionalized and one time legalized discrimination in our country. There is no question about it. But still, as I grapple with this issue, my mother's question hangs in the air for me. How did they treat you? Now, I do not raise this issue to complain or in any way to elicit any kind of sympathy. I have succeeded in my life beyond my wildest expectations, and I have been treated well by people of all races more often than I have not. I tell the uniform story because it happened. I cite those statistics around corporate board diversity because they are real. And I stand here today talking about this issue of racial discrimination because I believe it threatens to rob another generation of all the opportunities that all of us want for all of our children, no matter what their color or where they come from. And I think it also threatens to hold back businesses. You see, researchers have coined this term, color blindness, to describe a learned behavior where we pretend that we don't notice race. If you happen to be surrounded by a bunch of people who look like you, that's purely accidental. Now, color blindness, in my view, doesn't mean that there's no racial discrimination and there's fairness. It doesn't mean that at all. It doesn't ensure it. In my view, color blindness is very dangerous because it means we're ignoring the problem. There was a corporate study that said that instead of avoiding race, the really smart corporations actually deal with it head on. They actually recognize that embracing diversity means recognizing all races, including the majority one. But I'll be the first one to tell you, this subject matter can be hard, awkward, uncomfortable, but that's kind of the point. In a, in a spirit of debunking racial stereotypes, the one that black people don't like to swim, I'm going to tell you how much I love to swim. I love to swim so much that as an adult, I swim with a coach. And one day my coach had me do a drill where I had to swim to one end of a 25-meter pool without taking a breath. And every single time I failed, I had to start over. And I failed a lot. By the end, I got it. But when I got out of the pool, I was exasperated and tired and annoyed. And I said, why are we doing breath-holding exercises? And my coach looked me at me, and he said, Mellody, that was not a breath-holding exercise. That drill was to make you comfortable being uncomfortable, because that's how most of us spend our days. If we can learn to deal with our discomfort and just relax into it, we'll have a better life. So I think it's time for us to be comfortable with the uncomfortable conversation about race. Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, male, female, all of us. If we truly believe in equal rights and equal opportunity in America, I think we have to have real conversations about this issue. We cannot afford to be colorblind. We have to be color brave. We have to be willing, as teachers and parents and entrepreneurs and scientists. We have to be willing to have proactive conversations about race with honesty and understanding and courage. Not because it's the right thing to do, but because it's the smart thing to do. Because our businesses and our products and our science, our research, all of that will be better with greater diversity. Now, my favorite example of color bravery is a guy named John Skipper. He runs ESPN. He's a North Carolina native, quintessential Southern gentleman, white. He joined ESPN, which already had a culture of inclusion and diversity, but he took it up a notch. He demanded that every open position have a diverse slate of candidates. Now